Johnny Cage. One of the most recognizable names in Mortal Kombat. He's been around since the first game, and he manages to make a rather plain look very recognizable simply by virtue of the name. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Cage's entire story. Please note that this video consists of content that we published before the release of Mortal Kombat 11 back in 2019, but now we've greatly expanded on that with completely new edits and re-recordings, and even new content considering the events from Mortal Kombat 11 and its DLC, Aftermath. So, who exactly is Johnny Cage? Who is the man behind the legend? Join us as we take a deep dive into the full story of the beloved character. As always, we'll be going over both Mortal Kombat continuities here, i.e. the Midway Games and NetherRealm Studios timelines, and we will of course be beginning with the very first game. Johnny Cage is one of the 7 playable characters in the first Mortal Kombat game. Born Jonathan Carlton and using his stage name Johnny Cage, he's a famous Hollywood actor by the time the game begins, but though he's an established and renowned figure, his career is nonetheless stalling. It's believed by others that his reputation and skills as a fighter, as they are displayed in his movies, are unearned, and combating this image motivates his decision to participate in the first Mortal Kombat tournament. As he makes his way to the island on which the tournament would take place, he's assaulted by Kano and his Black Dragon mercenaries. However, he's saved and assisted by Liu Kang. The two repel the attack from Kano and his goons, and become friends because of this encounter. The two also later meet up with Sonya Blade of the Special Forces, who is seeking to apprehend Kano, and they become friends and allies as well. This newly formed band of heroes, with Raiden as the lead, are the earliest organized group of defenders of Earthrealm. While Liu Kang fights Shang Tsung and eventually wins, Johnny Cage teams up with Sonya and Kano to fight Goro. Sonya and Kano are eventually captured, but Cage is rescued by Raiden. Interestingly enough, he then goes on to make a movie called Mortal Kombat, which is based on his experiences during the tournament. Afterwards, Cage is interrogated by Jax Briggs, a Special Forces operative who is Sonya's superior, who is also initially unwilling to believe Cage's story about what happened to her. That all changes when Jax receives a video transmission from Sonya herself. As a gesture of apology and goodwill, Jax later visits Johnny Cage during one of his commercial shoots, though as fate would have it, they face a surprise attack by a group of Outworld soldiers, consisting of the likes of Shang Tsung, Kitana, Mileena, Jade, and Baraka. Johnny Cage and Jax, later joined by other allies, including Raiden, repel the assault from Outworld. Afterward, when the forces of Earthrealm travel to Outworld to fight in another tournament to defend their home, Cage is once again one of its fighters, and once again he witnesses the victory of Liu Kang, who defeats Outworld Emperor Shao Kahn this time. In the third game, it's revealed that the Outworld tournament was a little more than a distraction, with Shao Kahn's true plan being to invade Earthrealm through a dimensional portal created by the resurrection of Queen Sindel on Earth. When the forces of Outworld invade Earthrealm, Cage is killed by Motaro, one of Shao Kahn's most fearsome warriors. The catch, however, is that his soul doesn't move on and is returned back to his body, allowing him to be reborn and join the surviving forces of Earthrealm. He only sticks around for a while though, and when Shao Kahn is defeated and loses to Liu Kang once more, Cage's soul is finally able to ascend and leave. Due to this, he's also able to witness the rise of Shinnok, the main villain of Mortal Kombat 4. Following that, he seeks the assistance of Raiden in returning back to his body, so as to help his friends. His plan succeeds, and after Shinnok's defeat, he's able to stay on Earth without being recalled to the afterlife. During this time, back on Earth, Cage begins filming another movie, but is later interrupted by Raiden, who instructs him to go to Shang Tsung's island, the location of the first tournament, to help fight against the alliance of Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. This leads to his involvement in the fifth game, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Johnny Cage fought alongside the other heroes at the end of the game, but loses to Shang Tsung and Quan Chi's forces, and is one of several people to be killed in that fight. As a result, he's not a playable character in Mortal Kombat Deception, though he is still involved in the story. His corpse is reanimated by the main villain of the game, Onaga, to be brainwashed as a fighter for evil. However, Cage is eventually freed thanks to the combined work of Ermac and the soul of Liu Kang. This allows him to return for Mortal Kombat Armageddon, the last game in the Midway continuity, which sees him taking it upon himself to rally the forces of Earthrealm after receiving visions of Shinnok's revival, and because of Raiden's increasing corruption through the fight against Onaga, and of course, because at this point, Liu Kang exists only as a soul. When Cage travels to the location shown to him in his visions, his suspicions eventually led him to witnessing Quan Chi and Shinnok discussing plans to take over Shao Kahn's base. Cage's rallying efforts lead to the founding of the Forces of Light, who oppose the Forces of Darkness in the final battle of Armageddon. All of them, however, are wiped out at the end of the battle, including Johnny Cage himself. That the Forces of Light are defeated at the end of Armageddon is not at all good for Earthrealm, obviously. Raiden is the last remaining member of the heroes, and he uses the last of his power before his death to send information about the events that transpired thus far to his past self, so that Raiden's past version and his allies can make different choices and alter the course of their future, thus avoiding their devastating fates in the Midway continuity. This, as you may have guessed, leads to the creation of the Netherrealm continuity, which starts chronologically before the first game and begins with Mortal Kombat 2011. During the Mortal Kombat tournament in the 2011 game, which once again shows an interesting dynamic between Johnny and Sonya, the actor goes on to defeat Ermac and Baraka. Following his fight with the latter though, as his foe lays defeated before him, Shang Tsung tells Johnny to kill him and finish him off, which he refuses to do, which is something that Liu Kang and Raiden take notice of, the latter in particular. Later, frustrated by Cage's cavalier attitude and how casually he's treating the tournament and everything that's at stake, Liu Kang asks Raiden what he sees in the man, with Raiden responding that even though Cage doesn't see it in himself, he is meant to be a hero. Cage and Sonya's relationship, meanwhile, continues to develop, and has its fair shares of ups and downs in its early stages, though ultimately ends strong when the two of them work together to fight and defeat Kano. Later, after the conclusion of the first tournament, where Johnny loses to Cyrax, though the latter refuses to kill his defeated enemy, Johnny accompanies Jax and Raiden to a second tournament to rescue Sonya, mirroring the events of the original timeline. Throughout the story, while Liu Kang starts out as Raiden's closest companion, Cage ends up taking that role, despite not being as successful in the tournaments. He speaks his mind in evaluating the hero's progress, and does his best not to disrupt the alliances that hold the heroes together, despite whatever tensions arrive. This is meant to affirm Raiden's notion of Cage as a hero, despite what Cage's attitude may suggest. Cage is defeated in the second tournament by Ermac, but is seen again when the Earthrealm heroes assist Stryker and Cabal in fighting against an Outworld invasion, and is present for the assembly of heroes later on. This assembly is also the scene of a mass slaughter of heroes by Sindel, which Cage and Sonya survive. Liu Kang at this point has lost faith in Raiden, but Sonya and Cage stand by him. Later, Liu Kang's anger and unwillingness to listen to Raiden's instruction not to attack Shao Kahn, though understandable at the time, leads to a confrontation that accidentally ends with Liu Kang's death. Though outmatched in strength, Cage and Sonya then try to hold off Shao Kahn, while Raiden mourns the loss of Liu Kang and his role in his friend's death. From here, we jump to the events of Mortal Kombat X. By this time, some time has passed, and Johnny Cage's life is looking a little different. Not only is he older, he also has a daughter named Cassie with Sonya, who is now his former wife. While they were married, Sonya's commitment to her job strained their relationship to the point of complete breakdown. But though the two are no longer married, they are still on fairly good terms. Meanwhile, Cage's past life as an actor is replaced with a role assisting Sonya and the Special Forces in their operations protecting Earthrealm. He and Sonya start the story making their way to Raiden's Sky Temple. Cage, Sonya, and their ally Kenshi later appear at the base of the mountain that houses the Sky Temple and the Jinsei Chamber within it, which Quan Chi is attempting to take control of. The group is ambushed by revenants, with Cage defeating former ally Smoke and then Jax. Cage, Sonya, and Kenshi make their way to the Jinsei Chamber just as Quan Chi and Shinnok are about to further trample on Raiden and his ally Fujin, but the heroes provide a much-needed assist. When Sonya is about to be captured by Shinnok, Cage absorbs an energy blast from him, glowing green with power. He defeats Shinnok and passes Shinnok's amulet to Raiden so that Raiden can trap him in it. From this point, the story flashes forward to Cage recounting his victory to a team of new heroes: Cassie Cage, Jackie Briggs, Kung Jin, and Takeda, whom he also instructs to visit Sub-Zero as part of a training mission. Johnny also prevents Sonya from killing Kano, who is hiding for his life amongst a group of refugees. Kano, who is responsible for stealing Shinnok's amulet after it was used to seal him away, has information that the heroes need, and is also instrumental in convincing Jax to assist in capturing Quan Chi, culminating in a mission that's successful in large part due to Jax's own actions. But Scorpion and a legion of the Shirai Ryu later ambush a Special Forces camp with the aim of killing Quan Chi. Raiden and the other heroes seek Quan Chi so that the other revenants can be restored to life, but Scorpion is unwilling to comply and fights the other heroes. The Special Forces are captured by the Shirai Ryu ninjas, and Scorpion kills Quan Chi, but not before Devourer delivers Shinnok's amulet to Quan Chi so that he can revive Shinnok, just before being beheaded. Shinnok's revival is successful, and Johnny remains captive under him while the other captives are left behind. We then see him at the end of the story mode, enduring Devourer's attempt to kill him and bound in the Jinsei Chamber, until he's rescued by his daughter Cassie. Shinnok awakens to his true form and nearly kills Johnny, until Cassie summons the same green energy that protected Johnny in the past and allowed him to defeat Shinnok. Cassie then defeats Shinnok with that power, and afterwards, Johnny, Sonya, and Cassie reunite in the Jinsei Chamber, affirming their bond as a family. And now we finally arrive at the events of Mortal Kombat 11, the final game in its continuity. Some more time has passed since the events of Mortal Kombat X, and once again, Johnny and Sonya have rekindled their relationship. The Cages don't get too much time together as a happy family though, because soon they're approached by Raiden, who plans to lead a preemptive assault against Netherrealm, which he asks them to be a part of. Raiden tells them that this assault will require a sacrifice, and though Johnny, now a family man, is initially reluctant to put the ones he loves at risk, Sonya convinces him to agree. That proves to be a poor decision, especially where her own fate is concerned, because though Johnny and Cassie come back unscathed from the attack, Sonya doesn't make it, turning out to be the sacrifice that Raiden had referred to earlier. There's no time for them to mourn their loss, however, because it's not long before Kronika launches her own assault on, well, basically everything in existence, and as part of her efforts to erase Raiden from existence and reverse his actions and their consequences, ends up pulling past versions of multiple characters into the present. A younger version of Johnny Cage himself, back when he was still brash and didn't really take anything very seriously, gets pulled in as well, as does a younger version of Sonya. These versions of Sonya and Johnny's past selves aren't yet at the point in their lives where they begin getting on well, though interestingly, the friction between younger Johnny and present Johnny is even greater, with the latter being frequently annoyed by how cavalier and hot-headed he used to be once. Eventually, the hero's base is attacked by the joint forces of the Black Dragon and the Cyber Lin Kuei, at which point the two cages set aside their differences and fight together to drive back their enemies. And though they succeed, after the assault they find out that Sonya, the younger one, not the one who's dead by this point, was captured and taken away. Present Johnny gives chase, as one would expect, commandeering a tank and going to the Cyber Lin Kuei's base. And though that tank is taken out of the action when the cyborg Sector, the leader of the Cyber Lin Kuei, calls in an airstrike on it, Johnny himself is able to bring the plane down as well. Afterwards, Johnny defeats Sector, and then proceeds to fight the past version of Kano. He defeats him as well, but is interrupted by Kano's present version, who, as it turns out, has taken the younger Johnny captive and is holding him hostage. Kano and the Black Dragon leave, with Sonya and young Johnny still their hostages, though Cassie is able to place a tracker on them. It turns out, however, that Kano has left them behind in quite a dire situation, because he fitted Sector's body with a nuclear device, which is about to detonate. They're saved in the nick of time by Raiden, who manages to teleport them to the Shirai Ryu's fire garden just as the bomb's about to explode. But even though he's alive, present Johnny Cage is still heavily injured, which means his involvement in the story is quite limited from this point forward. That, of course, means the spotlight turns fully to the younger version of the actor, who, while in captivity, is forced to engage in a duel with Sonya by the Black Dragon. The two are saved just in the nick of time, though, when a special forces squad led by Cassie arrives on the scene. Together, Johnny and Sonya fight and kill the gunslinger Erron Black, after which the two of them are confronted by both versions of Kano. By this point, the thoroughly bruised and battered Johnny has little to no energy left to defend himself, and finds himself being grabbed and held at knife point by the younger Kano. He is rescued, however, by Sonya, who shoots and kills him, which also causes Kano's present self to be erased from existence. And, by and large, that's pretty much it for Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 11's story. It's never explicitly confirmed what happened to him when Kronika turned time all the way back to the prehistoric era, though it would be safe to presume that he, like many other characters, was erased from existence. Johnny also appears very briefly in Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath, and doesn't have much of a role to play in its events. Of course, when he returns in Mortal Kombat 1, we're once again going to see a very different Johnny Cage. Aftermath ends with Liu Kang, with an entirely new timeline, where the characters we know and love are going to appear in very different capacities. Like many others, Johnny is going to have a different life and a different story, and how that develops should be interesting to see. Will his story once again be intertwined with Sonya's? Is it safe to assume that Cassie Cage doesn't exist in this timeline? Is Johnny eventually going to wind up working with the Special Forces again? Or is his arc going to go in a completely new and different direction? This is, after all, a reboot of the franchise, so it wouldn't surprise us to see a completely different Johnny Cage story in Mortal Kombat 1. Thankfully, the game's not too far away from its September 19 launch, so we'll be getting the answers to our questions soon enough. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.